When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
Now, our next story here, I think this is perhaps the greatest story in Canadian business right now. It's how Quebec's Couche-Tard, and for our listeners in Ontario, I know this is a national show today. So Couche-Tard, in English you can say Couche-Tard, but that's the company. They own the convenience stores, Couche-Tard and Circle K. It is a convenience store behemoth. And Couche-Tard is trying to buy the Japanese parent company of 7-Eleven, and they are trying quite hard. They've just made a new offer, upping their bid by 20%, $47 billion. Will this be enough? Let's go to Andrew Willis from the Globe and Mail. He's on the line. Andrew, welcome back to the show.
Elias, thrilled to be here. This is, as I completely agree with you, this is the most compelling business story in Canada. Most compelling, one of the most compelling takeovers I've ever worked on in 30 plus years.
How close is Alimentation Couche-Tard? How close are they to nabbing 7-Eleven?
Couche-Tard is engaging in what we call a bear hug, and boy, are they squeezing 7-Eleven right now. So as you said off the start, they've made this blockbuster offer, $47 billion. It's far above where 7-Eleven stock was trading, and 7-Eleven is panicking. They are doing all the things that the target of a hostile takeover tends to do. The things that have been happening in the last couple of days is that 7-Eleven, which has really been an underperformer in stock market terms, they've used all the money they make off convenience stores to diversify. They bought a baby apparel chain, which is not performing well. They own a supermarket. They own a bank. And what they're saying to investors right now is, rather than be swallowed up by Couche-Tard, please let us remain the masters of our own fate. Let us spin out the supermarkets, spin out the baby apparel, spin out the bank in a separate company. We're just going to run 7-Eleven, and we promise, cross our hearts, hope to die, that we're going to run 7-Eleven better going forward. I don't think investors are going to buy that. So now we're in this waiting game to figure out if 7-Eleven will actually engage in talks with Couche-Tard and try and reach a friendly deal. That's the state of play right now.
And that's the thing, like, why isn't 7-Eleven embracing? I mean, this offer now 20% higher. Most companies would be over the moon. And it leads me down the path, is to come down to cultural things. Like, does Japan just not want to see such an iconic brand go into the hands of a Canadian company?
Elias, that's what makes this story really, really interesting. What Couche-Tard is proposing would be by far and away the largest takeover of a Japanese company by a foreign entity. And while we have a certain image of 7-Eleven as a place where we buy milk or cigarettes or something like that, in Japan, 7-Eleven is a really big part of the culture. The fresh food offering is very, very good. It's one of the reasons that Couche-Tard wants to buy it. They'd love to better understand how that works. And this, you've got a Japanese board, a Japanese management team. They know they're all toast if they do sell the company. So yet at the same time, the Japanese government right now is trying to liberalize the rules in Japan. They're trying to get more foreign investment in Japan. They're trying to say they're open to business. They're trying to say deals like this are actually okay. So you've got a wonderful tension in Japanese markets right now. And look, every management team, every board behaves the same way in a takeover. They just say, no matter what the terms of the bid are, they say, well, we want more. And the trick for Couche-Tard is going to be to somehow convince the Japanese board that their offer is far better than this other restructuring and spin out that I mentioned a moment ago. And Alain Bouchard, who runs Couche-Tard, who co-founded it many years ago, he's an incredibly determined and a very capable operator. So he's going to be very credible with the Japanese board. I just don't know if they're going to be able to swallow hard and say, yeah, we're going to let the Canadians take over. That's the wonderful tension here.
Is Couche-Tard doing anything to assuage fears? Like, we've seen this happen before when U.S. companies want to buy Canadian companies. Oh, we're going to keep the head office here, that kind of thing. What about the non-monetary promises? Is there any bit of sweet talking coming from Couche-Tard?
So Couche-Tard is keeping its cards pretty close to the vest. Obviously, that they've got really good advisors. They're trying to make this. If they have said right from the start, we do want this to be a friendly offer. We want the Japanese to accept us as the new owners of these assets. They've also got some regulatory issues. There are going to be competition issues in the States because they'd really be a dominant player in the U.S. convenience store market. So yeah, what we've heard from outside sources, this would be arbitrage funds, hedge funds that own the stocks in both Couche-Tard and 7-Eleven. They're hearing the structure could be dual head offices in Tokyo and Montreal, a lot of autonomy for the Asian management team, and then just trying to manage the divestitures, the sale of U.S. stores that you would need to do to get competition bureaus to bless this transaction. So yeah, behind the scenes, there's a lot of negotiations around what would the structure of the combined companies be, but we haven't seen exactly what Couche-Tard is willing to concede in order to get a friendly deal. You know they will have to give up something in terms of control of the Asian operations.
We are with Andrew Willis from the Globe and Mail talking about Couche-Tard's bid to take over 7-Eleven. Now, first things first, Andrew, music to my ears. Dual headquarters, Montreal, Tokyo. That means direct flights, Montreal, Tokyo, are going to get cheaper, and there's going to be more of them. I'm so excited about that.
First class will be crowded. First class will be crowded with convenience store operators. Yep, no doubt about it.
But it's fun, right? Just like the traffic that happens between Detroit and Tokyo, right? Because of the car business, right? So that would be interesting. But let me throw this at you. The previous time we talked about this, you told me about how one of the reasons why Couche-Tard has been so successful, buying Circle K, all of these regional chains and other chains around the world, they never overpay. They are, they are smart with the money. But now we're seeing perhaps in this deal, maybe they're straying from that. Is it possible that Couche-Tard could overpay in this instance?
Look, takeovers are always risky. That is a risk here. I have a lot of faith in Alain Bouchard. I know as many deals as he's walked away from as that he's actually made, including a huge takeover in Australia that the dynamics changed when COVID hit, and they successfully exited that deal with no damage. So I think investors have a lot of trust in Couche-Tard to get the financing right. The other thing, Elias, and I think we've talked about this before, is that there is enormous institutional investor faith in Couche-Tard's management team and in their good judgment, and you're seeing a lot of money being committed out of the pension fund community. And this is the case de dépôt at Placement de Quebec. This is a lot of other really sophisticated pension plans. They're all quietly telling the Globe and Mail that, yeah, they'd be willing to support Couche-Tard on a deal that makes sense. So there's going to be checks and balances. I don't think Couche-Tard is going to overpay, and there may well be a press release from Couche-Tard in a couple of weeks that says, you know what, this just got too expensive and we've walked away. And that price is not much above the $47 billion that's on the table right now. This is like a poker game. Another 5% raise would probably be as far as Couche-Tard's going to go. Yeah. And they'll use language in their press releases around that. They'll say, this is our best and final offer. We're walking away. And at that point, this one's dead. I'd say it's a 25% chance that they land 7-Eleven, 75% chance that for one reason or another, this deal doesn't get done. So there's my odds.
The odds stacked against this one. What do you think timeline? You said a few weeks there, but what's your timeline on a definitive answer, you think?
Well, these sort of takeover talks can drag out for several months, but it creates a lot of uncertainty, especially at 7-Eleven. So I think that both sides probably want to have this done by year end, which was 10, 12 weeks away. Now I'm speculating, but based on my experience with a lot of these takeover deals, if you can't get a deal done within a couple of months, then both sides tend to walk away.
A man from Ontario who can pronounce all the French words, and he's a darn good business reporter. Andrew Willis from the Globe and Mail. Always a pleasure, Andrew. Thanks so much.
Elias, love talking about this deal.